It's like being awake in a dream, like watching a movie play out in my mind. Other lives, other versions of me, existing across the multiverse, transmitting a message, a broadcast. Do you remember? We're all eternal, stars wandering through infinity, on a quantum journey back to self. Are you ready? Are you ready?
You are listening to Wandering Star Podcast. This is episode 10, The Art of Alchemy. If you are joining us for the first time, we are glad that you found us and thank you for being here. It is important to note that each episode certainly stands alone as a wonderfully profound story. However, if you would like to have a deeper experience, we invite you to listen to this podcast in order and allow yourself to join in the mystery as we follow the evolution of a single human being's soul to uncover the power and beauty that lies within each of us. Again, thank you for joining. Enjoy.
On the grid, the unified light splits in two. Soaring across the soul's highway, I watch the other half drop into new expansion. I remember that experience, the insatiable madness. Now I am the other half. I feel the pull and I shoot across the grid. I drop down the golden thread into a new, parallel world. I'm sitting on a small raft, made from bamboo and tree vines. My skinny legs stretch out in front of me. I navigate the calm river waters with a long stick. The water is brown, murky. My scrawny legs are scratched. Patches of dried mud cover them. My white shorts are stained and torn. My bare feet are small, but strong. Beads of sweat drip into my eyes. I push my straight black hair out of my face with my forearm. I'm a 12-year-old boy. I see the large knotty tree that hangs over the river coming up ahead. I easily glide the raft to the side and pull it out of the water. The slick, muddy bank sucks my feet in as I trudge up the side, hauling the raft behind me. I lean it against the tree and throw my stick on the ground. Ahead is a large, marshy field. A rice paddy. Workers are scattered throughout the field, harvesting the crops. Hunched over in loose-fitting long-sleeved shirts and pants rolled up to their knees, wearing conical bamboo hats to shade the scorching sun. At the far edge of the rice field is a thick grove of trees. I begin to run towards them with urgency. Along the way, I stop when I see a familiar face. I don't know his name. He never speaks to me. He gives me a discreet nod. His narrow, dark eyes look around with caution. Beads of sweat gleam in his deep wrinkles. His gray hair is soaked beneath his hat. I run to him and place my hands out in front of him, palms cupped up. He looks around again, then quickly drops some rice in my hands and motions for me to keep running. I nod in gratitude, shove the rice in a small pouch I keep in my pocket, and run towards the trees. The trees are thick and lush. I race over roots and vines down the narrow path through the grove that leads into our village. Our village is tiny. A couple dozen bamboo houses form a small square. I leap over a chicken that struts in front of me, oblivious to my urgency. A woman marches over and grabs him by the neck with a scowl. She purposely avoids making eye contact with me. She drags the chicken through the square back to her house. My house is right across the open square from hers. It's small, only 2 rooms. The floors are dirt, the roof is thatched. It's dark inside. Tiny rays of light shine in between the bamboo walls. My mom is laying on a cot in the back room. She doesn't appear to be lucid. My older sister sits beside her, dabbing a cool cloth on her forehead. She looks at me, her dark eyes brimming with tears. The grimace on her face tells me my mom has gotten worse since I left. I pull the pouch of rice out of my pocket and hand it to my sister. I give her some medicine, too, some roots I dug up along the river. She gives me a quiet nod of approval. We don't really know what to do for our mom. We don't know how to save her, if we even can. She was poisoned, and nobody will help us. We sit in silence, both of us unable to speak the words we know to be true. I pick at a dried patch of mud on my knee. I wish our dad were here. He was killed a couple of years ago. He was a warrior, a fearless fighter. He was my hero. The emperor himself trusted my dad more than any other soldier. Everyone in the village respected my dad. He was kind and compassionate. People wanted to be in his presence. He had a quality about him that was magnetic. But when the emperor died, everything changed. His son took over as ruler, and now darkness has fallen on our country. The emperor's son is obsessed with power. He's ruthless. He's cruel. I secretly call him the tyrant. The emperor was benevolent, caring. Under his reign, the people were flourishing. Our small village is right outside the palace grounds. Everyone here used to be happy, prosperous. We helped one another. We were a small but thriving community. Now people barely speak to each other. Everyone keeps their heads down, afraid to smile, afraid to talk to their neighbors, afraid to help those in need. And nobody speaks of the tyrant. He has spies everywhere. Not long after the emperor died, my dad was murdered. I know what happened. I close my eyes, and in a flash I see him, laying on the ground at the edge of the trees near the rice fields. Blood pours from the deep wound in his chest. A man stands above him, watching him sputter, choking on his own blood. The man is dressed in black. His long black mustache drapes down below his chin. A black goatee hangs to his broad chest in a single braid. Slick black hair is pulled up into a tight bun. A long, curved saber swings from his hip. His lip curled up in a sneer. He calls my dad a thief. He places his black boot on my dad's neck and presses slowly. He watches with satisfaction as my dad takes his last breath. The tyrant. He hated that his father respected my dad so much. He hated that his father turned to my dad for counsel and not him. But more than that, he hated my dad for winning the love of my mom. My mom is a beautiful woman. Silky black hair frames her porcelain face. Small pink lips always curled up in a slight playful smile. High sculpted cheekbones. A captivating twinkle in her dark eyes. Her beauty is enchanting. The tyrant was always obsessed with her, convinced that she would someday be his wife. She wanted nothing to do with him. She loved my dad from the moment she met him. He swept her off her feet. He made her laugh. Her eyes would light up every night when he would come home, like she had just laid eyes on him for the first time. Their love was extraordinary. The tyrant seethed. Nobody says no to him. Jealousy devoured him. Convinced my dad stole my mom from him, he waited, his hatred and bitterness festering. Once the emperor died, he wasted no time. He immediately demonstrated what happens when someone crosses him. Everyone knows he killed my dad, but nobody will speak up. Not even my mom. She's shattered, a shell of who she used to be. Her dark eyes now glaze with dread, her pink lips pursed with acrimony. The tyrant flaunts his authority. He parades around our village, emboldened by the collective fear. He steals from people, destroys homes on a whim. He torments my mom, insists she will now be his wife. She quietly refuses. He laughs, as though he knows a secret she doesn't. But lately, she's begun to finally understand. She sees the way the tyrant looks at my older sister. I know it was him. I know he is the one who poisoned my mom. A strange old woman stopped at our house yesterday. My sister and I saw her leaving from across the square. She was very short and hunched over, wearing a long black cape, a hood hiding her face. I've never seen her before. Uneasy about the mysterious visitor, we ran inside to ask our mom who the strange woman was. We found her crouched on the floor, throwing up. 2 small teacups sat empty on the counter. I ran outside to find the old woman, but she was gone, vanished into thin air. I don't know who she is, but I know the tyrant sent her. Our mom has been sick ever since. At nightfall, I creep around the village in search of food. Sometimes our neighbors will hide remnants for us to find, a small, discreet way to help us. The woman who killed the chicken left us some odd scraps behind her house. I shove them in my pocket and sneak home. My sister and I eat the tiny bits of food we have, then sit beside our mom. We each hold one of her small, pale hands. Her hand is cold, clammy. I can almost see the life slowly draining out of her. I lay my head on her chest and quietly sob. I tell her it's okay for her to go. I'll take care of my sister. Her pink lips curl up, an ever so slight smile. I think she found my dad. Her heart stops beating. She slips away. We sit with her in silent sorrow, neither of us wanting to say goodbye. But we know we must leave our home right away. The tyrant will come for my sister soon. We pack up a small black sack with some bits of rice and extra clothes. I kiss my mom on the forehead and cover her with a blanket. We quietly creep out of the village, through the rice fields, down to the river. My bamboo raft is still here leaning against the large knotty tree. I grab my stick off the ground. We climb on the raft and drift down the river into the night. The sky is dark, no moon to guide us, no moon to expose our escape. The currents are calm, the air is humid, heavy. Neither of us speaks. There are no words to express our loss. By daybreak, we cover a good distance. Our stomachs are growling. We pull over to search for some food. I find some small sour berries in a bush, and we devour them all. There's nothing else around, so we get back on the river. After several hours, the currents begin to pick up. The water splashes over us as we ride the river tides. I hear water crashing in the distance. Using my stick, I steer the raft to the side. We grab onto some tangled roots on the bank and pull ourselves out. The raft swiftly floats away. We walk along the river until we reach a ridge. A huge waterfall drops down about 50 feet. On either side, thick jungly trees cover the steep cliffs. In the distance, the ocean spans the horizon. A large village sprawls along the coast. We agree that this is where we must go. But first we have to figure out how to get down from here. I look over at a leafy tree that towers over the cliff. A brownish-orange monkey is sitting on a branch staring at me. He gives me a mischievous grin, then swings from a vine on the tree over the cliff. I run over and see him slowly making his way down, swinging from vine to vine. He's showing us the way. I grab a vine and yank it hard to test its limits. It's sturdy. Using the vines like ropes, we slowly make our way through the trees, down to the bottom of the cliff. I hear a rustle from a tree and see the monkey staring at me again. He stuffs some leaves in his mouth, lets out a squeal, and swings away. We walk the rest of the day, following the water until we reach the village on the ocean. The village is even bigger up close. We're overwhelmed by its size. Neither of us has ever been around this many people. The streets are lined with shops and market stands. The intoxicating smell of food being cooked blows through the air. People are milling around, but nobody seems to notice us. We walk through the town, heads down, trying not to call attention to ourselves. We must still be careful. The tyrant has spies all over the country. He must know we left our village by now. I'm certain he has his henchmen searching everywhere for my sister. We walk by a shop with a big pile of shrimp sitting outside on a stand. I'm tempted to swipe a few, but I don't want any trouble. I peek into the shop and see an old man sitting alone. I grab my sister's hand and we slip inside. The old man looks up as we enter. His slender eyes are soft, wise. A long gray mustache blends into his long, straight gray beard. Thinning gray hair is pulled back into a bun. His beige clothes are loose-fitting, baggy on his small, thin frame. He says nothing, just stares at me with a steady gaze. I politely ask him if I can work for him in exchange for food. He stares in silence. I ask again, unsure if he heard me. A slight nod. He shuffles over and motions for us to follow him. He takes us to a small room at the back of his shop. An old cot is pushed up against a wall. I look at him, not quite sure what he means. Another slight nod. He's offering us a place to stay. We smile at the kind old man, grateful for his offer. The old man is a shrimper. We take his small boat out during low tide and rake the ocean floor with wide nets. I haul the shrimp back to the shop for him. I clean his boat. I clean the shop. He doesn't say much. He never asks who we are or why we seem to be running from something, from someone. I walk back to the shrimp shop after a morning out on the boat. My sister is sitting on the cot in the back room, her head bowed, her satiny black hair draped over her face. She's crying. I sit beside her and reach for her hand. She pulls it away. I sit in uncomfortable silence, unsure how to console her. She lifts her head and looks at me. Her eyes are puffy. Her flawless skin is blotchy and swollen from crying. She's scared. She's lonely. She misses our parents. She doesn't want to spend her life hiding in the back of a shrimp shop. She throws herself face down onto the cot. Her hopeless sobs fill the small room. I rub her back, wishing I knew what to say. If I was a fearless fighter like my dad, I would ride to the palace and kill the tyrant myself, with his own sword, the sword that killed my father. I lose myself in these fantasies. I muse about what it would be like to watch him take his last breath. I grow more resentful each day. I succumb to the rage. But I keep it inside, buried, beneath the heartache, beneath the fear. The rage festers. Like an ulcer, slowly, steadily, it burns holes in my soul. A poison I willingly devour. A few years pass. I'm 16 now. I tie a rope around a tree, anchoring the small boat to shore. The old man and I just returned from a long, productive morning out at sea. I have a mountain of shrimp to carry back to the shop. I do all the strenuous work. The old man never asks me to, but I don't feel right watching him struggle to haul the heavy buckets. I begin to unload. He remains seated in the boat, staring out at the sea. He rarely speaks. His silence used to make me uncomfortable. Now I appreciate it. I'm often lost in thought. Thoughts I don't care to share with anyone. Thoughts I let control me. I walk into the shop, a heavy bucket of shrimp in each hand. I drop them on the floor and walk to the back room to check on my sister. The room is empty. She's not there. Frustration and panic wash over me. She's been doing this often. She sneaks off while the old man and I are out on the boat. The loneliness and boredom have become too much for her to bear. I understand, but she's putting herself in danger. Irritated, I stomp out the door and search the marketplace for her. I have a feeling I know where she went. I see her, from a distance, laughing and talking to a tall, handsome boy about her age. She's 19 now and the spitting image of our mom. Her beauty makes me nervous. The handsome boy sells rice cakes at his dad's shop. Even from a distance, I can tell he's captivated by her beauty. He looks at her with infatuation. She's giggling, her eyes filled with joy, filled with life. I feel a lump in the back of my throat. I swallow and take a deep breath. I hate being the bad guy. I hate tearing her away from living, but it's just too dangerous. I march over and tell her it's time to go. She ignores me. The handsome boy looks at me with irritation. I tell her again. She turns and looks at me, her eyes wild with indignation. Not wanting to cause a scene, she smiles sweetly at the handsome boy and turns and huffs away. Back at the shrimp shop, she lashes out at me. Says she's sick of hiding. She's sick of being alone. She's sick of being a prisoner. There's nothing I can say that will make her feel better, so I say nothing. I let her unleash her anger, her grief, her pain. I keep my emotions hidden. They exist secretly as tumultuous thoughts, poisonous thoughts. She finishes her tirade, then stomps into the back of the shop and throws herself on the cot, tears streaming down her face. I walk to the boat to unload more shrimp. The next day, the old man and I are out all morning on the boat again. I unload a bucket of shrimp and head towards the shop. Again, he remains in the boat, staring out at the sea. I hear screams and yelling coming from the town square and duck behind some wooden crates. I peek out, the panic in me rising. My sister, she's alone in the shop. I hear some more shouts and the click-clack of horses' hooves. A sable horse strides through the marketplace. Riding on his back, a man, dressed in black, ominously stroking his braided goatee. The tyrant. "Where is she?" he bellows. His henchmen circle the village. Nobody says a word. The henchmen begin kicking down doors of shops, searching everywhere for her. I'm frozen in apprehension. If I run to the shop, they'll see me. Suddenly, I hear her, howling at the men to take their hands off of her. She doesn't even sound afraid, just angry. They drag her to the tyrant. The look on his face when he sees her. Triumphant, lecherous, vile. I almost choke on the fury. I can't do nothing. I can't just watch. I slowly creep out from behind the wooden crates, but just as I'm about to run to her, the handsome boy from the rice shop races to her rescue. He tries to free her from the henchman. The tyrant watches in amusement, then hops off his horse and grabs the boy from behind. He pulls a dagger from his waist and slits the boy's throat. My sister screams in agony. Her broken-hearted wails pierce my heart. The boy slumps to the ground, lifeless. The tyrant snatches my sister and throws her on the back of his horse. He looks around at the villagers frozen in fear. "Any other heroes?" he challenges. He asks his henchmen if they found the little brother. Me. They regretfully shake their heads. I know if I speak up or run to her, I will be killed instantly, and she'll be stuck with him forever. So I remain hidden, silent. The tyrant and his henchmen ride out of the village with my sister. I wait in shock. I can't believe she's gone. She's gone and I did nothing. He took her and I did nothing. Furious with myself, the rage finally erupts and I begin to kick the stack of crates. They crash to the ground. I pick one up and smash it against a wall. Unable to control myself, I look around for something else to break. I spin around and see the old man standing behind me, watching my outburst. He looks at me with a steady gaze and quietly asks me who I am. We walk to his shop. I tell him everything. I pace around, frantic. I need to go, now. I have to save her. I tell him I must go immediately. I search around for my black sack to take with me. I feel a hand on my shoulder, a firm yet caring grip. I turn to face him. He sternly tells me I am not ready. It would be foolish for me to think I can save her in the state I am in. He urges me to stay with him. He will help me get stronger. He will train me. I hate to admit it, but he's right. I need to become strong like my dad, the fearless fighter. I insist we begin training right away. We must only train at night. The people in the village are upset that I brought trouble here. The handsome boy died trying to save my sister. They don't want me around anymore. Now it's me that must stay hidden in the back of the shrimp shop. A couple of weeks pass by. I'm sitting in a small clearing in the bamboo forest just outside the village. We come out here every night. I'm frustrated with the old man. He promised to train me to be a fighter. I'm supposed to be getting stronger, but every night we come out here and do the same thing. He sits on the ground, legs crossed, eyes closed. He makes me do the same, facing him. We just sit here in silence for hours doing nothing. This is dumb. I'm wasting time. Tonight, I've had enough. I jump up and demand he teach me to be a warrior. We're supposed to be training, not sitting around daydreaming. The old man opens his eyes. He asks me why I am so impatient. Unable to control myself, I explode. How dare he call me impatient? That despot has my sister. Who knows what he is doing to her? I'm supposed to learn how to fight so I can save her, and you're supposed to be training me. I shriek in his face. Unmoved by my outburst, he calmly says he is. I'm just not listening. I don't understand what he's talking about. I am listening. He's the one who never says anything. Infuriated, I storm out of the woods back to the shop. The next night, I go to the clearing by myself. It's time to take matters into my own hands. I will teach myself how to be a fighter. I try out some ninja kicks and fall on my face. I get back up and try again. I attempt to flip and land on my back, my legs extended out over my head. This is useless. I don't even have any weapons. Hopeless, I lay back on the ground and cry. I wanted to be a warrior like my dad. I wanted to be a fearless fighter, to be the hero my sister needs. I close my eyes and weep. His voice comes to me, just as I remember it. Gentle, yet firm. My dad. He tells me I'm too angry. He tells me a true warrior has a stillness within him. He tells me I need to master my emotions. If I don't, they will be used against me. He tells me to listen to the silence, that a good fighter is never angry. I sit up, looking around for him. There's no one there. I sit in stillness, listening. I hear the poisonous thoughts racing through my mind. A furious stampede of untamed emotions pounding in my skull. I hug my knees to my chest and rock back and forth, desperate for relief. The following night, I come to the clearing with the old man. I sit across from him, my legs crossed, my eyes closed. I feel the anger that has poisoned my body, my mind, my spirit. Instead of pushing it down, I feel it. I let it rise. I let it fall. I let it be what it is, without judgment. I come here every night, often alone now. I listen. The deafening stampede dissolves to a steady march. The steady march dissolves to a quiet stroll. The quiet stroll dissolves to a tiptoe. The tiptoe dissolves to silence. In the silence, I find my calm in the storm. In the silence, I see the warrior within me rise. In the silence, I become the master. At last, I'm ready to free my sister. The old man looks at me with pride. I hug him tightly and thank him for all he has done for me and my sister. I ask him for help with one more thing, a diversion. He agrees without hesitation. I tell him to be careful. The tyrant shows no mercy. He nods calmly, untroubled by my potentially dangerous request. Dressed in all black, nothing showing but my eyes, I walk off into the night. I reach the palace at sundown the following day. I approach it stealthily from the backside. I sit behind the high wall that surrounds the palace grounds and wait. At last I hear it, a commotion, the flurry of raised voices, the sound of horses being prepped for a ride, then a stampede of hooves as the tyrant and his henchmen ride off into the night. Our plan worked. After I left the shop, the old man told one of the tyrant's spies in the big village that he saw me, that I was plotting revenge and the tyrant must come quickly. Eager to be rid of me once and for all, the tyrant couldn't pass up the opportunity to hunt me down. An enticing lure. Once the hooves are but a whisper in the distance, I swiftly climb the wall. Within the palace grounds, there are beautiful gardens surrounding the residence. Sculpted bushes, manicured flowering trees, statues, quiet places to sit in thought. A gold bench surrounded by magnolias gleams under the moonlight. I easily scale the back wall of the palace until I reach a balcony. I sneak inside and creep through the halls, searching for my sister. I quietly push open a door to a bedroom and find my sister sitting on the bed, dressed in a gaudy pink and gold dress. She jumps up and rushes to me, squeezes me tight. She whispers in my ear that some of the henchmen are still here, guarding the palace, guarding her. I nod. This was to be expected. I walk in front of her. We quietly tiptoe down the stairs. A couple of henchmen patrol the front entrance. I strike from behind. The only weapon I have is my body. I take them both down without a struggle. They lay on the ground, unconscious, yet still alive. My sister looks at me with wide eyes, impressed by my newfound abilities. I grab her hand and we run out of the palace to the tiny village we grew up in. Several villagers catch us creeping through the square. I put my finger to my lips, hoping they understand. We hide behind a house and devise a plan. Soon the tyrant will be back. We move into our positions and wait. Just before dawn, the thunder of horses rides into the tiny village. I'm hidden in the thick grove of trees, just outside the village near the rice paddy. My sister is perched high up in the knotty tree by the river's edge. I hear the tyrant pounding on the doors of every house in the square, demanding to know where I'm hiding. He knows that I'm here. He's dragging people out of their homes, questioning them, commanding them to expose my hideout. Nobody speaks. His henchmen move around the square, tearing apart houses, setting them on fire. Nobody speaks. The villagers have grown tired of the tyrant, fed up with living in fear. Their silence is the weapon I need to take him down. I hear the quiet thumping of horse hooves coming down the narrow path through the trees. I hear him calling my name. I killed your friend, he blithely confesses. Such a shame that such a kind old man had to die because of you. He's taunting me. A pang of anger seizes me as I think about him killing the old man. I let it rise. I let it fall. I watch it pass through me. I resist the temptation. He strides out of the grove to the edge of the rice paddy. I can see him from my post beneath the trees. I'm on my stomach, watching through tall blades of grass. He rides closer to me, goading me, snarling on about how he killed the old man. He's in front of me now. Right on cue, a blood-curdling scream from the knotty tree by the river. My sister. The tyrant's attention immediately diverted. I spring out of the tall grass and tackle him to the ground. His disorientation is my advantage. Sprawled out on his back, he grasps for his sword. I place my foot on his hand, pressing down hard until I hear the crunch of broken fingers. He howls in pain. I place my other foot firmly on his throat. He looks up at me, a heinous smirk on his twisted face. A flash of excitement in his eyes as he hisses something vile about what he did to my sister. Enough. In one swift movement, I end it. Silenced at last, he lays limp, lifeless, his reign of terror finished with a snap. I hear my sister running through the rice paddy. She comes to an abrupt halt and stares down at the tyrant. It's over, I whisper. You're free now. She looks me in the eyes. Lynn, you are a hero, she says, just like our dad. She grabs my hand and squeezes it tight. I feel his presence here, in the exact place he took his last breath. I listen to the silence. I lay my invisible armor down. I no longer want to be the fearless fighter. I peel away the black headscarf and throw it on the ground. I no longer need to be the heroic warrior. It's time to free myself now, too. Years pass. I'm an old man now. A new emperor rules over the land. Like the tyrant's father, he's a benevolent leader. The people are happy again. The darkness has lifted. The new emperor lives in a palace far from here. The old palace just outside our village is now a monastery. I live there, along with a dozen or so other monks. A quiet, peaceful existence. My sister married a fisherman. She lives in the small village we grew up in with her family. She comes to sit with me often at the monastery. It's a beautiful sunny day. I go out to the gardens that surround the residence. I sit down on the gold bench. I fold my hands and rest them on my lap. It's almost time. I raise my head to the sun, eyes closed. I feel its warmth upon my face. It's almost time. I listen to the silence. It happens in a flash, an instantaneous transformation, a lightning bolt. The electric current crashes through dimensions and pierces my heart. An energy transfer across space and time, a powerful testimony of the eternal limitless bond of oneness. High up in the bell tower, the bells begin to chime. A miraculous phenomenon, the quantum entanglement between two souls, destined to become one.
And we're back. I'm Keisha. I am the facilitator and guide during these quantum healing hypnosis sessions. I'm joined by my co-host Hillary. She is the writer, narrator, and the experiencer of these stories that you've been listening to.
Welcome back, everyone. We are happy to be here again this week with a new story to share with everyone. And I think before we get into it, I just want to clarify what's happening here by saying that, so last week when we did that story, when we followed that experience, we started with the two separate lights on the grid, right? So like these two halves of a soul. And so last week we followed one half where we went into the insatiable madness life. And now this one is following that other light, that other half of the soul. So when we land in this one, it's interesting to me that both of these boys are basically about the same age, coming into these lives. And they're both wearing white shorts. and they're both holding sticks. So it was like coming into it was interesting. Like when I'm looking at, what I've got on and what I've got in my hand, both of them were exactly the same like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the, feeling of being in the similar kind of body. However, this one was much different. Whereas I came into the last one, it was like this beautiful life that, with this family and all this, great stuff at the start. And this one, it was kind of this like sense of urgency. Like I was on this raft going down this river. Mm-hmm. And then, there was definitely like a sense of heaviness and a sense of sort of like darkness almost, that I was feeling. And, like running through that like rice paddy, and this guy's like giving me some rice. Like there was definitely that feeling of like, we're all sort of like hiding from someone, we're all in fear of someone or something. Mm-hmm. That's, and, like nobody would really look at you, like that woman with the chicken, it was like, I have this very clear image of her just kind of with this like scowl on her face, like purposely avoiding not looking at me. Mm-hmm. Having that weird feeling that like nobody's even really allowed to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And so I come in a pretty dark place in this kid's life where it seems like, prior to his dad being killed, he had a pretty good life. Like his parents obviously were like very much in love, and he's got a sister, and, his dad was this like guy that everybody looked up to and respected, and he was like the right hand man of the emperor. And then the emperor dies, and then everything just kind of goes dark for everybody in this country. Not exactly sure where this was. Obviously it was somewhere in Asia, and the time period, this is interesting too, because it was like the last one felt like it was in the 1940s or 1950s, and this one feels like it was like way before that. Mm-hmm. time frame,
Yeah.
And like there's emperors and people are on horseback and using swords, and there's not really any of like the modern, like, no cars and guns or anything like that. So I don't know when this was or exactly where this was, but there were emperors and shrimp guys. Right. But yeah, so it's like, I figured out, okay, his dad was murdered, and now this new guy takes over, this tyrant, as I referred to him. And then this tyrant, who's like obsessed with this boy's mom, poisons her. Mm-hmm. And then, so now both parents are dead, and he's got this sister who's just a few years older than him, that now it's like almost felt like it was his burden now to look out for her. Mm-hmm. Like he had to be her caretaker, her protector, or whatever, because it's pretty clear that this tyrant character was going to take that, like, the mom wouldn't fall for his attempts at making her his wife. And so, but then it was like the daughter got to an age where then it was like he had his eyes on her and was like, well, forget about, this old mom. I don't want her anymore. Now I want this beautiful young girl. And so, yeah, really sad situation. But so then this guy's got this burden pretty quickly where he's like, I don't know, 10, 12, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's like, parents are dead. Nobody in the village would help them. Everybody was too afraid to help anybody. They would like sneak them like food scraps outside and stuff so they could basically have enough food to eat to live. But like, no, everybody was just afraid for their own lives. So nobody was interested in helping their neighbors too much. And so it was pretty clear, like we needed to get away, because this village was like right outside of where the emperor's, big old palace situation was. Right. Right. So then we're on the run, and that was, it was honestly like really cool when I was experiencing it and then writing it, like flying down this raft on this river was pretty cool. A nice way to escape. Yeah, then we wind up in this other kind of big village, big town situation. and yeah, then we meet my buddy, the shrimp guy.
Yeah.
That's how we referred to this session for the longest time too, was shrimp guy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so funny because like I really don't like shrimp. Like it grosses me out. Like one of the first jobs I had to do when I was just like, at like the bottom of the ladder in the kitchen environment was like peel and devein all these shrimp, and it's just like that gross, like black, I don't even know what it is. Like I always just thought of it as like poop. It just really grossed me out. And like I can't stand shrimp. And then I'm walking and I was like, there's just this huge pile of shrimp sitting outside, and I was like really drawn to the shrimp. And then of course the shrimp guy played a very pivotal role in this story. Mm-hmm. But we for a while there we referred to this session as the shrimp guy. Mm-hmm. Before we had an actual name for it.
So shrimp guy turns into the art of alchemy.
Right. It's just that
it's amazing.
But first it was shrimp guy. Yeah. And shrimp guy was a really very Zen-like man. Definitely the character I needed to encounter on this journey and through this experience. And yeah, but it was also like really funny as I'm telling you the story too. It was just like, we're just like living in this shrimp shop, and like hiding in this weird shrimp shop in this marketplace, like for years. And like my poor sister just like can't even leave because it was like, there were definitely spies from the tyrant, or like his henchmen, as I called them in the story. Like we knew that they were everywhere and they were on the lookout for her. And so this poor girl can't even actually live, right? She's just like, her life is like hiding in a shrimp shop for quite some time before she was, captured by the tyrant. And so she's feeling all of these feelings about that situation, like she's obviously sad and she's angry and she's depressed and she's all feeling all of these things. And this boy, her brother, is the one that's there, like trying to console her, letting her express herself, being there for her while she lets all of these emotions out. And he doesn't, what he does with his is he just buries them. Mm-hmm. Just doesn't say anything. He's just trying to be this support for her. And that, that doesn't go well for him. And this was like another very like crazy parallel to myself, as I've shared before, that, bottling my emotions as a kid, kind of burying them down and never speaking about them. And that to me, like, it manifests in these what did I call it in the story, these like poisonous thoughts, right? Like when we don't express ourselves and how we feel and communicate all of this stuff, and it just gets buried and it festers,
right?
Like an ulcer, like a big sore that just starts to take over. It's a disease that spreads throughout the entire body, truly, I believe, and it manifests in like physical ailments, resentments. That's what I kind of like really felt when I was writing this with him. It's just like all of these resentments like festering and festering, and he's not expressing it to anybody. And then they form, like, then he's got these like what I called again the poisonous thoughts that are just like racing through his mind all the time, like this anger for this man that's basically taken everything from him, his parents, and now he's trying to take his sister and, stole basically their life. And everybody in this country, wherever this was, was robbed by this tyrant. And so that's a pretty dangerous way to live, right? With all that festering and all of that resentment building and building and building. And, that when I was thinking about that, I was like, man, this is exactly how I felt for a long time when I was bottling all that stuff up inside of me. and, you feel it like bubbling up and growing, and it's like, tearing apart your stomach even. And it's crazy how some of those things like really truly manifested as physical ailments for us. And they just get like trapped in the body, these pockets that are there. And sometimes you think you work through it, and then it's just like, nope, it's still stuck somewhere in there.
Yeah. This is just coming to me right now. I don't even know how I didn't think about this before, but when you were talking about hiding in this shrimp shack and the girl, like, it just took me to the girl under the bed. And that being afraid of everything around you. It feels very similar right now while we're talking about it, where I was like, this is another one of those things I didn't really put that little piece together until just now.
Right.
And it feels very similar to how that little girl was feeling.
Mm-hmm. It feels similar, but it also feels to me more like that girl, like, especially I feel like this when she was captured by the tyrant then. It was like she didn't even care. Like, she was just angry. Right? Like, I finally, like, at first I'm sure she was hiding in fear, scared, exactly like that little girl in the shrimp shop. But then she's in there for what, like 10 years or something insane like that. And then she reaches a point where she's moved past the fear almost, and now she's just angry and defiant, right? Because it was like, I would go out with a shrimper most mornings. It seemed like we were out on his shrimp boat, and she eventually got to a place where she started like just leaving. She was like supposed to just be hiding in there all the time, and then eventually she's like, screw this, like, this isn't living, and
because she got that experience with love came into the picture with that boy.
Right, exactly. So it's like boredom and all this stuff draws her out. Finally, she's got this like whatever enough courage and defiance to be like, I'm not hiding in here anymore. I'm going to leave. And then she's, then she starts actually experiencing life, and she finds the handsome rice patty guy is what I called him. She finds the rice patty guy, and he's obviously smitten with her. And then I remember feeling that, like, that sense of like danger from what I said, like how beautiful she was. Her beauty made me nervous, right? Because she was like, my mom was this beautiful woman, and now my sister's like the same. And I was so nervous because I felt like that beauty was going to get her in trouble or something. Obviously the tyrant was smitten with her. But
wow, this is interesting, Hillary. I'm literally just now thinking like, wow, so now love is to be feared. That's that's pretty interesting. I didn't think about that until just now also. It's so weird. All these Yeah.
Love is to be feared. Like, living is to be feared in this. I felt like there was this strange position where this boy was in, where it was like he felt bad and he felt almost guilty for, not that he was like making his sister, but I mean, in a certain sense, maybe he was like, no, you have to just hide in the shrimp shop. You can't even go outside. And it was like, I definitely felt bad about that. Like, that she's not living her life. I mean, at least I got to leave and go out on the shrimp boat.
Right.
But, she's just hiding in this weird shack. That's obviously no way to live. And so there was a part of me that felt really bad for that, but it was like the fear of her being captured by the tyrant just far outweighed that feeling of wanting her to experience life.
Yes.
And, living and being free. It was like, I was so afraid of losing her and of her getting hurt that I'd rather just keep her like tucked away in this shrimp shop, having no life, being completely isolated and lonely, than having to risk the tyrant finding her. So that's an interesting, piece of this whole thing.
Right.
Is like, the things that we fear keeping us back, holding us back so much from living our lives. Truly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got all of these feelings, these emotions that are all basically wrapped up in his sister. and really trying to protect her and keep her safe. And, I think there's a sense throughout his childhood of like, looking up to his dad. His dad was like a hero in everyone's mind, I believe. And he was, maybe a fighter for the emperor or something like that. And so obviously this kid as a young boy is like idolizing his dad, and then his dad's murdered. Right. And so like after that, then it's like he wants to be that hero. But for a long time, he doesn't know how, And so for him, this first part is keeping his sister safe.
Right.
And in this weird shrimp shop. And then the tyrant comes to town, and, he's out with the shrimp guy. And it's like the shrimp guy is just such a funny, interesting character. It's like I don't even think he spoke a word, or there was like no interactions with the shrimp guy until the moment where like his sister's taken by the tyrant, and he is hiding, watching this whole thing go down. And it was that feeling of like, well, I should run and help. I should try to go and save her. But this understanding that was keeping me hiding, that was like, well, if I do that, he's just going to kill me right away. And then she's basically stuck with him for life, So I should stay put. And then the rice paddy guy tries to go and save her. And of course he gets killed trying to do that. So then I was like, yeah, no, really, I need to stay hidden. And then she leaves, and I'm like, just like furious with myself for not doing anything, even though I knew if I did, I would be killed. It was still that like beating myself up.
Right.
Like it's my fault. Again, this kind of savior complex situation shows up, and I'm having a temper tantrum, like kicking crates and being a weirdo. And the shrimp guy is just standing there staring at me like, and then he just says like, who are you? What is going on? Like, obviously he knew that we were running from something or hiding from something. Why else would we be living in a shrimp shack for a decade? But he never asked any questions. And then finally it was like, okay, what's going on? And then I'm like, I need to go and save her. And he's the one that's like, no, you can't go and do anything in the state that you're in. You're just going to get yourself killed right away. And this part is hilarious to me, because then it was like, okay, fair point, shrimp guy, fair point. So now I'm going to stay, and you're going to teach me how to be a fighter. And so I had this idea, of course, like I'm thinking like the shrimp guy is like some secret ninja, right? And he's going to teach me all of these moves, and I'm going to, become this crazy fighter warrior, and I'm going to go save my sister. And then we kind of like fast forwarded in the session and go out. So I'm like, okay, we're sitting in the woods, like this clearing outside at night. And it was also like at this point, after my sister was taken, nobody in this town that we were in, like I didn't want them to know I was there, because they were pissed that the rice paddy guy got killed, of course, and that we brought trouble into town. And so at this point, then I became the one that had to hide in the shrimp shop. And I was the one that, couldn't leave. So we had to go out at night to practice, what I thought was going to be my ninja moves. So we're sitting outside at night. And I remember like in the session, like almost like feeling that the same frustration that this guy does is like, I was like, okay, we're sitting here, and the shrimp guy is just sitting there like cross-legged with his eyes closed, in silence. Like the dude rarely spoke. And so I'm like, this is like all we do is he just sits there in silence. And it's like, I'm out here expecting to be taught how to be a fighter. And so eventually, I blow up on the guy, and I like, decide to take matters into my own hands. It's like, this is dumb. I think I was like, this dude's just out here daydreaming. Yeah. I'm supposed to be learning how to fight. I have to go save my sister. Like, what the hell? I was really pissed. And so I was like, whatever, I'm done with you, shrimp guy. I'm just going to teach myself how to be a fighter. And this point was hilarious. Because you're like, okay, what are you doing? So like I'm standing out here, and I was just like doing these like ninja kicks and like weird karate chops and stuff. Like
like in the dark, just like karate chopping the air and like doing these kicks, but I kept like falling on my butt and like it would be like me, like if me personally in this life was like, I'm going to teach myself to be a ninja, you know, this is exactly how it would go down. Would be like me karate chopping the air, falling on my face, and it was just like obviously not working out for me. And so so I'm like really upset about that, obviously. And then I get visited by my dad, who's, you know, got, again, some great advice. I'm visited by a lot of parents and grandparents throughout these stories that always have some really great nuggets of wisdom to leave me. And so, you know, he's basically, my dad's like, you know, listen up, son, you're not going to, you know, help your sister. You're not going to help anybody until you, like, essentially you get your shit together. Mm-hmm. You know, you're way too angry. You're way too, like, almost like unhinged in this way that's like the opposite of the mad scientist. You know, it was this like this quiet, this like silent unraveling inside of him. And so the dad's like, you need to figure out how to master your emotions before you go and do this.
Right.
You know, you go showing up there like this, like filled with anger and all of this stuff. Like you're not going to save her. And so that's basically what the shrimp guy was trying to teach me, but I just couldn't see it. You know, I was just getting irritated at him for just sitting there and not speaking to me. But essentially what my dad told me was exactly what the shrimp guy was demonstrating. I was just not ready to see that.
Right.
And so, yeah, then this part, like I can really feel this, like that quieting of these thoughts, right? These poisonous thoughts that are just like racing through this guy's mind all the time, that he's just like, you know, the more he's keeping them in, the more they're growing and they're taking over and they're poisoning his whole body. And it's like turns into this like stampede, right, in his head, where it's just this like constant, like he doesn't have any peace, right? And so then he takes his dad's advice and starts going out there with the shrimp guy then and kind of just sitting in silence. And to me, this is why it's called the art of alchemy. It's like, this is the inner alchemy that he's working through in this one, where he does become the master of those thoughts and the master of his own emotions. And that's just like sitting with them, feeling them, watching them, and addressing them, you know, because it's so easy for me to equate this to the way that I have operated. It's like being able to step back and look at them as an observer, you know, and just sort of like watch the thoughts sometimes come and go, and watch the emotions and understand where they came from and why they're there. And face them finally, instead of like either trying to bury them or like letting them fester and grow and build into like things that just become these insane distortions of like what it's not even what's even real. It's just, you know, made up shit in our minds. And so the more he sits there, the more that stampede starts to quiet. You know, quiets to a march, to a tiptoe into silence.
Right.
And to me, that was just like watching, like letting them all come up, first of all, letting all of those feelings like rise, bubble to the surface and not suppress them, you know, and like letting that shit overflow instead of burying it. It was like the first step, you know, and then watching, and then just sort of like watching them and observing them, you know, and taking all of that pain and taking all of that anger and turning and like transforming it, transmuting it into something. This is like going back to the maestro.
Absolutely.
You know, like that's the point where this all kind of began, this understanding.
Absolutely.
Of like utilizing these emotions and thoughts, because all it is energy. Right. And then taking that energy and transforming it into something far more powerful and useful. And that to me was what this whole process was with the shrimp guy.
Absolutely.
The art of alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
which is something that we all can do, obviously.
Absolutely. Because all of these are examples of this, especially from the maestro on. It is all these different ways to look at alchemy. And I'm right now trying to think. I think it's you seem to be really good at this process, this alchemical process, when it has to do with saving other people.
Mm-hmm.
But there's such you don't use it or utilize it in the same way when it comes to your own self, which is very interesting.
Right.
Like in the
right.
maestro situation, by the time you were captured and got your head cut off, you didn't even really care anymore.
Right.
But you understood this process very clearly. And we were talking about that, how you didn't, why didn't you use this ability when you were captured and put in that cage? And I think it must have something, I mean, I don't know, but I think it must have something to do with something in helping others and saving others does make it more, there's something about that makes it, it's like it changes the process in some way. Because I think it's something like, because in order to be able to utilize it as a tool, you have to understand there must be something that you need to you have to have that silence and that peace and that that peace within yourself as a whole in order to use this as a tool and understand the process of it. And so if you don't care about your own life being in danger, because that's exactly what's necessary in order to, you're not afraid of death for yourself or any of these. There's no fear in you, basically. But you can use anger and resentment, and because in this one you don't have fear. There's no fear.
No, not for myself. It's for my sister.
Right.
Like that's the only fear I have.
Yeah, but it's for somebody else.
Not for myself.
No, not for yourself. And so in order to be able to use this as a tool, you can have fear. You can't, and that's what that shrimp guy was teaching you. But you didn't even have it going into that. The fear wasn't there. So I just find that very, very interesting, because you were obviously a master at this process.
Right.
Right.
And I think you really touched on something that is very significant, is that I'm not using this for my own well-being. And I think, I'm not going to say much because I don't want to give anything away, but I think that explains a lot going into the next story.
Yes, absolutely.
Honestly, that just really made me think about, okay, wow, that makes a lot of sense, because I am utilizing this, these powers, this stuff that I figured out for the well-being of others,
absolutely,
to save others.
Yeah,
but never for myself.
No. And the weird thing is
something to remember.
It for sure is. And you can tie it back to like episode number 1. It's like you had to accept that it's not your job to save others, which is really bizarre. Like you had, it is this savior complex, but it is duality, and it is polarity, and all of these things are always happening all at once, and they all are absolutely necessary all the time, like we were just talking about in the last one. Like jealousy can literally save you or destroy you, and every single emotion and everything is definitely like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and everything can be about, balance,
for sure,
and awareness, first of all.
Alchemy
of what's coming up and why it's coming up. Yeah, exactly. The art of alchemy.
Yeah.
But So, then this, like, finally, okay, I get to a place where I'm ready to go and essentially storm the castle and save my sister, which I do. And that whole thing was interesting because it's like, just looking at it from like a sort of a logical perspective, which sometimes cracks me up when I try to look at these stories from that like logical lens of like, okay, so, how does he then figure out, like, so he's mastered, he's gone through this like inner alchemical process, and, he's quieted the stampede, and he's, become the master of like his the inner workings, but then he goes to this place and like suddenly he is this ninja that's like taking down some of these guards. He's got no weapons, nothing but his body, and somehow he has figured out how to use his body to defend himself, defend his sister, whatever. And so he goes back to that palace, and it was like this really kind of like, I remember like scaling the wall and then being down in there, and it was like these gorgeous gardens outside and this like shiny gold bench, and then being inside the palace, it was like very like almost gaudy looking kind of. And then, like, I see my sister in there. It was like he had, like, made her, like, dress up in this, like, ugly pink and gold dress. And she had, like, lots of makeup on, too, almost like a geisha. It was like he was her toy doll or something gross like that. And she's just sitting in there. But again, it's like there wasn't fear from her. Like, I can see and I can feel, like, going into that room to save her. And it's not like she's in there like cowering in fear or whatever. She's just pissed. And like the whole time she was just angry about what this guy was doing. But there wasn't much fear coming from her. And then, I grab her and we go to leave. And then I'm like doing my actual ninja moves that I somehow learned to take down some of these henchmen. And she's just looking at me like, dude, cool. How'd you learn how to do this stuff? And and then we go, obviously we escape, and then the ending with the tyrant is like, I obviously had to kill him. He was a threat to everyone, even though it wasn't, I don't feel like that was something that I really wanted to do, but it was out of necessity, obviously. And I killed him in like the exact spot that he had killed my dad. And so there was that sense this whole kid's life, I felt like, of wanting to follow in his father's footsteps, of wanting to be the hero, of like wanting to, do all of that. And then he finally does it. And he's like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want this anymore. He freed his sister, and that was important. And then obviously by killing the tyrant, then nobody else in that country had to deal with that guy's bullshit anymore.
Right.
And so he essentially freed everybody.
Right.
And then he says, it's time to free myself. Like, this isn't the path for him. And that was really cool. And then it was like, we skipped ahead in the session, and you said, okay, now what's happening? And I was like, I'm living in that palace, but it's like not the palace anymore. Somehow it was turned into a monastery, and a bunch of monks lived in there. And so it was like sort of unclear to me if I was a monk. I think that I kind of was. I definitely felt it in the feeling that I had in myself. Like shrimp guy vibes, The shrimp guy was a very Zen-like man. And that's the way I felt at the end when I was living in that place. And then the ending is pretty incredible. It was like, I went outside and sat down on that gold bench, and of course, again, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but I did know that something was about to happen. And I was like, I kept saying, it's almost time. It's almost time. Like I was waiting for something. I knew something was about to happen. And I'm sitting there, and my hands are crossed, and the sun is shining, and I just feel its warmth on my face, and I was really peaceful. And then this moment was just wild. It was like this. At first, I just felt like there was this like lightning that just struck my heart, which is very interesting. Like a bolt of lightning, just like, zapped my heart essentially. And then this is where shit gets kind of crazy. It's like, okay, so when in the session we were when we're talking about this, I'm describing it, and I can still feel like I can still see and feel this so vividly. It's like, so we're looking at the, this piece of the soul, and then the other piece was the last episode, Insatiable Madness, the man with the crazy inventions and his weird primitive drone.
Right.
And so, and then at the end of this session, we understand that this character, this guy, his name is Lynn. And if you recall, in the episode Insatiable Madness, the only friend he has is named Lynn. And when he is working on his primitive drone demonstration in front of like the people from his class and his douchebag roommate and everything, and it starts to sputter and falter and he thinks it's going to crash and he panics, and then the bell tower starts to chime. And I said in that moment, I felt the strong presence of Lynn.
Right.
Okay, so now we go into this life, and I'm on the gold bench, and the lightning strikes my heart and takes my life. And the way that I saw it was this like lightning bolt that was literally like crashing through dimensions. And it takes the life of Lynn and this old man sitting on the gold bench. And it does, like, something happens. There's this like energy transfer where it takes this energy from him, from his heart, and sends it to this other guy high up in the bell tower. And like the bells, just the chime, like they just came out of nowhere. Nobody was up there ringing the bells.
Right.
It just happened. And to me, that's the moment when this lightning strike happens.
It's so beautiful.
And sends all of this over to this guy, this other piece of his soul, to then help him with this demonstration, which then fuels this essentially the insatiable madness, right? Which like is this obviously this cycle of self-destruction that he goes down, but then that winds him, like sends him to a place where he finally experiences love. And so that's pretty incredible and pretty crazy.
It's completely, it's so incredible because he goes on to that madness manifests, and he goes on to create that machine that can transport him to other dimensions. Like, it's almost like the guy on the gold bench knows that this thing will be created so that the two of them can, be connected. And I don't know. There's many ways to look at it, but yeah, I remember very clearly in this session, you were very clear that it was one of those like in those instant downloads of just knowing knowing that was that it was happening at the same time. And we can try to, it's like you were just saying also, it's funny to try to logically make sense of this.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do it very well, but like you can, but then like if you let the logical brain get too crazy, it will pick apart and say, well, that can't be, and this can't be, and that can't be, or whatever. But in that moment, you had one of those download. It was like you were in both of those places at the same time.
Yeah.
In the session. That's what it felt like.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, it was almost difficult for me to put into words in the session what was happening.
Right.
And it felt like very emotional to me, like watching how these two are so connected. That it's like these worlds are happening at the same time in different place. Like who, I don't even know, I mean, it's like, it's the multiverse. It's all happening at once. So it's like, how does this guy Lynn know to sit on this gold bench at this exact moment? You can't make sense of it logically.
No, and you can't
But
make sense of like that guy's on the gold bench, the other guy's in the bell tower, you're on this bed in my office, and you're having literally this experience in all three of those dimensions at the same time.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
It's
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Because all of the emotion of all of those combined was absolutely present in the world that you and I were in, like the physical. Like to me, it was obvious that you were feeling all of those emotions of this present moment, both of those, whatever time periods they were, the 40s and then way before that. And yet you were able to feel all of that all at the same time, which is really wild.
That's, incredibly wild. Mm-hmm. Incredibly wild. And, it took me a little bit to like try to even make sense of it. In this, I mean, because this, like, in the beginning of doing this split to me too was like a little confusing for both of us going through these. We're like, okay, now which one are we doing now? Like, what's happening? It was a lot to keep track of.
Right.
But to me, that feeling that I have so deeply of this connection between these two, like across space and time, no matter what, no matter where, no matter when, it's like this unbreakable connection.
And this is the first time. Bond. Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think this is the first time where the gold bench shows up in this very magical way. It's like it's not I don't know, there's something very significant about the gold bench, obviously.
I mean, I think you can look at it like when you look at it through that alchemical, like in terms of alchemy, right? It's like mastering all of those emotions and getting himself to this state where he's like able to go and like he's turned lead into gold.
Absolutely.
He's taken all of that inner turmoil and turned it into gold. And then he goes and sits down on that gold bench and gives all of these lessons that he's learned to his other half.
That's so beautiful. That's freaking amazing. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. It is beautiful. And so that's why I'm just like, screw the logical mind. I don't even care.
Yeah.
This is... I don't care. I know it's beautiful. I feel it. Like, it gives, like, I have goosebumps right now talking about
Same.
it. It's crazy.
Same here. Yeah. And it's like, oh my goodness, we've been talking about this so many times, and to be able to feel this way, even in this moment, talking about it again like this, and still have these feelings, it's like, wow. It's amazing. I feel very, very fortunate and lucky and blessed to be able to go on these journeys.
Oh God, you and me both. I mean, I still sometimes can't get over it. Just like how things have changed so drastically for me. Like the gratitude that I have for that is just like, it's crazy. I sometimes have to like almost pinch myself because it's such a drastic change from the way my life used to be, constantly worrying about, running a business and constantly obsessed with whatever, hellscape was happening on TV. And now it's like, I'm talking about like, dimensions and, these two lights being connected throughout space and time. And this, like, it's just crazy. It makes me want to cry. Like, I'm transported into all these new worlds. Like at most nights, I remember like in my old life, I would be trying to fall asleep at night, and I would just be like, my mind racing through like all of the stuff I needed to do the next day for work, and just like caught up in all of that stuff because there was so much stress and pressure on me all the time. And and if it wasn't that, then I was just like, you know, stewing about the state of the world or something like that. And now it's like I fall asleep like in all of these like stories in these worlds, and and then and beyond, you know, like it's like the meditations I have are in all kinds of other new weird places, and fun things are unfolding, but like all of the lessons that are learned, and you know, like the expansion for me that has happened, and the growth is like, sometimes I can't even believe it.
I know, and it's funny as I'm listening to you, Hillary, I'm thinking, okay, so you're like trying to rescue girls who are being raped on pirate ships. You're trying to save your sister. Your fathers are being murdered, and like all of this stuff is happening.
Right, exactly. All this crazy wild shit, but it's like, but through all of that, it's like through all of the horrible things that happen in these, it's like none of that even really like, not that it doesn't matter, because obviously like all these stories, you know, like those things had to happen for a reason, but that's not what I get caught up in. It's like I get caught up in all of these beautiful lessons.
Right. That's exactly
that
right.
come from it.
Yeah.
And then I think about all the different possibilities of what certain things might represent.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe if I try to look at it from a different perspective, I'll have a better understanding or a different understanding or whatever. It's like, that's what I focus on.
Absolutely.
Like the fact that I, you know, get beheaded and, you know, lightning strikes my heart is never what I'm thinking about, obviously. And those moments are never like anything that feels dark ever. Like the deaths don't ever feel dark.
Well, that's what's wild about it, is because you were saying like in your old life, you're like going to bed at night thinking about all this horror that exists on the planet, this hellscape, I think you said. And so you're thinking about all of this stuff, and it's like torturing you, basically, because essentially
absolutely
you're not able to do anything really about it. I guess that's not totally fair to say, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
But it's just manifesting. And so it's really interesting to think that you go into these places where this horrible stuff is happening, and you're actually able to learn these beautiful lessons and make use of them.
Right.
Make use of the lessons instead of and put that out into this real world that you're living in right now. Like that is actually more useful for you in having an impact on the world and me than paying attention to whatever bullshit's being put through the television.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a much better use of my time, I would
Me
say.
too. 100%.
What? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a gift.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift.
Hence the next episode that we're going to hear next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, truly. Hold on, folks. It's a ride.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's, yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to give anything else away.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I mean, I feel like I covered everything I wanted to in this one. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it for The Art of Alchemy. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.